to introduce to the resource person. Over to Ansi.
Welcome to the 9th day of International Webinar on Contemporary Finance Research Tools and Publications organized by the Department of Commerce, University of Kerala. Today we have with us one of the most eminent personalities, Professor Dr. Gabriel Simon Patel, Director, School of Business Management and Legal Studies, who is also the Director of IQSC, University of Kerala. He has over 28 years of teaching and research experience at the undergraduate and postgraduate level and has successfully guided 25 PhDs and 49 MPhils. He worked as the coordinator of a major research project of the Government of India undertaken by the Department of Commerce, University of Kerala. He is also the coordinator of UGC SAP project. Moreover, he is the former General Secretary of Indian Accounting Association and currently the Chief Editor of Indian Journal of Accounting. On behalf of the Department of Commerce, we welcome you, sir, for the technical session on integrated financial market and emerging research perspectives. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you. And good evening, one and all. The coordinator, Dr. Biju AV, and others who are participating from within and other parts of our country. Now, the topic today is integrated financial market and the research perspective that we have. So this is, I'm taking off from where I stopped as part of the keynote address in the inaugural part of our webinar around, I think it was last Monday. The issue that we were discussing at that time is how do we look at research avenues in finance and commerce, specifically keeping in perspective the changing scenario of the financial market. And what we were trying to look at that point of time is the fact that how the financial market has very fast got integrated into the research paradigm where it has gone driven by technology. So essentially, what I would like to bring across here, is the kind of research that we have to look at by shifting from a phase of segmented research on a segmented market to a research on an integrated market, which is in an integrated mode. So what I mean by integrated financial market is, from the point where we stopped, how we conventionally looked at financial services and financial markets. It was divided into money market, capital market. This is what I referred to earlier. And I also said how even each of the services was again segmented. If you look at banking, we were talking about agriculture banking, forex or export-import trade, financing. It was going in that form. So again, from there, when we move into insurance, it was again segmented. We had life, we had general, it was all separate. Capital market was again segmented into equity, into debt, into derivatives, spot, into futures. Now, today the segment is very fast breaking down, and we are moving into an integrated level where institutionalized services of all kinds under one umbrella is today becoming very freely available. So you look at institutions like SBI, or you look at institutions like major financial bankers in the private sector, they do all kinds of services. They have all kinds of banking services. They have their own specialized segment for mutual fund, for insurance, they act as a depository participant. You can take a demat account through them. So as far as individual investors are concerned or institutional investors are concerned, the segments have got broken, and we have a market which has become highly integrated. this phenomenon started perhaps more integrated using technology. And that is where I was referring to the emerging opportunities for research in finance, where we look at a market which is highly getting integrated in terms of technology. So what is happening here? Here we are talking about common technology-driven platforms where these products and these services are being made available to the end users at the time and at the point where they are needed the most. So we now refer to fintech, we now refer to blockchain, and I'm sure to, because now we are in the fag end of the seminar on contemporary research in finance. All these instruments, all these innovative products, all kinds of bonds, all kinds of futures, all kinds of options, all kinds of trading in indices, all kinds of derivative forms have started flooding the market with numerous options of trade. And yeah, and this being the scenario, what are the essential challenges which we are now facing, or which we are likely to encounter considering the research perspectives? Now, I'll just list a few and then perhaps we can have a discussion on that. One is the global integration which technology is bringing. That means the information asymmetry that was existing has today slowly narrowed down into information being available for all at the same point of time, and the possibility of your business or your model taking advantage of the market in whichever place it is. So you can have all kinds of euro bonds, or you can have all kinds of instruments that is going across borders for trade, for innovative products and services, which can be best utilized for your organization. So using technology, we are now getting integrated where actually your products and services need not essentially mean what it is for the player in that country. If you start from depository participants, if you start from FIIs, if you start from domestic institutions, in all these places, you see this integration taking place where you have possibility for swift movement of funds. Now, the first challenge is, how do you take advantage of this in an integrated market, which is highly technology driven, which has got lots of innovative ways of creating creating opportunities? How do you take advantage of this? Now, the taking advantage of this have got certain allied challenges that come out of it. One of the most important allied challenge that comes out of it is, how much organized are you in terms of business opportunities? Because if you look at a very simple example, if you look at a businessman who is in the unorganized sector, say you want to compare somebody who is doing street vending, or is doing some very unorganized business with very little of formal support, for him this integration is meaningless. For him, this financial products and services, or the integrated financial market that you have with all segments broken, is meaningless, because he, as far as he is concerned, he still remains in an unorganized segment, unable to tap the movement and the integration that has happened in the market. He cannot even move into one segment, like maybe the banking segment. He does not have his KYC. He's not able to have his own account open in the form of a demat account. So these issues are basically there. So what I'm trying to say is how organized you are. And it is not just sufficient that you become organized. You have to meet certain standards in order to get the benefits of this the international synchronization in your products and services. And those standards include your standards in accounting, the standards that you have in, are you complying with IFRS? Suppose you're an export organization, are you complying with the standards of global trade, even global packaging, even global marketing, logistics management? So there are a host of conditions which you must comply, even those associated with environmental accounting or with pollution or with green energy at times. So the host of regulations, the host of compliances which we need to actually adopt is one challenge on which we need to have a good amount of research. So the first aspect that I would like to put across here is how actually we need to, not that these regulations and these policies are immaterial. On one hand, when your market is becoming highly integrated, highly innovative in products, and through one platform, you can have access to multiple resources, multiple products and services. This happening on one hand, how organized and how competent are we in terms of compliance to align with this? And if not, what is the proximity to meet these challenges? So this is issue number one that we have to actually address, looking at the Indian context in which we actually are. The second important issue is, once you have addressed this, the second important issue is how much is this possible in terms of our investment in terms of intellectual property? Because today it is not the raising of funds which is more important, but the utilization of funds that is turning out to be more important. Because again, if you look at an integrated market, if you have rich, feasible, creative, viable business ideas, it can be in areas which are highly risky. You have options like venture capital, you have options like angel financing, you have even options like perhaps crowd financing coming through an organized route, which will be of aid to you in your financing process. So the issue is, how much are we spending or investing in terms of this idea generation, in terms of the intellectual competence or intellectual capability that is necessary to take advantage of an integrated market. So you have a robust market with numerous products and services ready to meet your financial needs as an investor, as an entrepreneur, as a person with a billion ideas, maybe in the form of startups or maybe in the form of micro enterprises to multinational corporations. But then, how feasible are these ideas? It comes when you have those, when you are able to think out of the box, when you're able to look into the opportunities and avenues which are open for you. So this becomes a key challenge. This becomes a key factor over which we have to actually look into in terms of research. So this is a second important factor. Investing in the ideas or investing in a culture where right from your higher education itself, there are lots and lots of avenues to perhaps link your activities with the emerging market. Yes, we are teaching a lot on entrepreneurship. We are teaching a lot on taking risk-taking, leadership qualities and all. But how much of this translates into action, and how we are trying to make our centers of learning actually centers of entrepreneurship. So this is the second issue in terms of taking advantage of an integrated finance market we have to look into. Third important issue is the understanding the environment. Now, the change that is happening in the environment, there are lots and lots of issues which are coming up as emerging changes. In this same webinar, we were talking about climate change, we were talking about health finance, we were talking about sustainable finance, we were talking about investing in green energy, in green projects and so on. Now, the whole idea is your business environment is not always confined to resources which are always locally available. It can also move towards resources or avenues where you move to things which are global opportunities. This is what we are trying to look at when we are saying emerging business models. That means I might not have my customers and my opportunities in my immediate vicinity, but I can think of ideas which can be financed by some entity or some player in the financial market. And my model of business will be such that I'll be looking at maybe customers elsewhere, managerial skill elsewhere, what do you call dealers and supporters for me elsewhere. So for this, I need to know the kind of business environment which exists globally. So talent can be in some place, managerial skill can be in some other place, and the same can have a gelling with the financial market. So this is yet another idea where we have to look at how the what do you call the financial market stands out as opportunities for getting these. An integrated financial market can stand as opportunities for getting these ideas to be well financed. So the environment is such that, as I said earlier, nowhere there is going to be limitations of time and space. An integrated market has already, in terms of the technology support that it has, be it fintech or be it your e-banking or e-finance or supporting e-commerce models, it has moved into such a stage where all limitations of time and space is essentially going to be broken, and it is like anywhere, anytime money, anywhere, anytime business. So that is the kind of environment in which you have to very carefully look at an enterprise, which is the central circle, having an operating environment around it and a macro environment around it, still around it, or the outer circle. And in that outer circle, you have lots of factors in terms of technology change that is coming up, in terms of your fiscal policy, monetary policy that is coming up, in terms of the legal environment that is coming up, host of laws changing. We are going to biodegradable fuels, what is going to happen, renewable energy, what is going to happen, in terms of the amount that you can invest in certain sectors, laws coming up. So lots of things are happening in the legal environment, which is going to push its impact on production of goods and services. And that in tune is going to make the capital market conducive in order to take advantage of what actually can be done in a market of this kind. So this is the first one. I was referring to the third factor, that is the environment and the integrated financial market, how it stands out. Now, above all this, we also have an integrated financial market having a role to play in terms of technology getting observed in the market, like what we talk about in terms of straight-through processing. Straight-through processing is talking about a phase which is making available the services to the end users in an integrated financial market, where your front office
Hello.
Sir, your voice is breaking. If possible, you can mute the video. Then it will be better.
Simon sir, hello.
Sir, I think his video is on the total on a stuck. It's not moving.
Hello, Simon sir. Can you able to hear me?
I request the participants to kindly wait. There is a small technical issue. Please do wait for a couple of minutes. We'll contact with the resource person and be right back.
Sir, can you able to hear me? Hello, sir. Simon, sir.
Yes, sir. We can hear. I think he has joined from some other device now.
Okay, fine.
Am I audible?
Yeah, now it's audible, sir. Sir,
Yeah.
we can continue from.
Okay. So I was referring to the yeah, I think I'll put my video off. I think I'm audible, right?
Yes, sir, you're audible, sir.
Okay. I was referring about yeah, we were talking about straight through processing. Now in a financial market which is integrated, we need a kind of one point service to integrate between the front office, the middle office, and the back office. That means when somebody, that's what I was referring to. Suppose it's in the case of venture financing, or suppose it's in the case of angel financing. Somebody has a business idea. Somebody has registered or deposited this particular idea. Now, how to analyze it, how to look into the feasibility, both the technology in terms of marketing, in terms of finance, the feasibility, and then how to finally post a decision at the back office on whether it should be granted or not. So this is done through platforms where the linkage perhaps even goes beyond space. That means you will be dropping your idea in one part of the world or one under an institutional segment, which runs into yet another segment in some other part of the world where it is analyzed using a host of softwares which talks about your environment threat opportunity profile, which is done ETOP. The ETOP profile can be done over there, and they do it and they link it with the different segments of your market. Do you actually need institutional finance? Is it developmental finance that might need to go into it? Or do you have to find some promoters who would perhaps contribute to your shares? So is it equity financing? Or do you look for some issue of bonds? It can be redeemable or irredeemable or zero coupon bonds or whatever, the bond financing. So it is all done in one point. So the integration there comes in terms of in your straight through processing, you have a platform where all these things are coming together from one slot. That means I'm not saying that, okay, first I tap my doors at a bank and I'm saying, okay, I want institutional finance. So there I get a yes or a no. And then I say, okay, let me look for whether there are somebody to take shares in the form of promoters, or whether something can go as sweat equity, or whether I can go for a bond market. So if this was the case, or this is the route that we are actually taking, in that case, I am referring to, or I'm talking about a segmented market. But where you have an integrated market, this differentials are naturally broken through straight through processing. So it is here that your integrated market research into how much of this happens in that form, that is very important. Now, your market, when it gets integrated, how do you test the validity, or how do you test the what do you call the relevance of having an integrated market in finance? It's essentially through how much of integration takes place in terms of differentials in pricing, differentials in your strategy for allocation, differences in the funding propositions that you have. To give a very simple example, we find a segmented market more for commodities. And what happens there? You see a lot of price differentials. If you look at a vegetable, price of a vegetable, maybe onion or tomato or potato or things like that, you find different prices in different parts of the country, and you find even within a state in different places you have different prices. Even within one particular city, you have different prices, and that is all based on locational factors, because the customer has to physically move to that place and collect that. So some places are convenient, some places are near, some places. So transportation issues are there, logistics issues are there, and above all, there is something called convenience. But when I'm trading on an e-platform, when I'm trading on a technological platform, all over the world, I see the prices, I see the rates, I see the differentials, and I'm in an electronic route, I'm trading. So differentials are minimum. As I said, the difference that you see in the price of potato or a commodity is not seen in the price of a particular market security. Suppose I look at the price of a particular share in the capital market between NSE and BSE, or between one stock exchange and another stock exchange, or I am saying I want a loan. The interest charged in one institution and another institution is very narrow. So the test here shows that differentials are very less, because if I have a differential thing, people will obviously choose the place where the cost is low, and the place where the cost is high will be ignored, and there will be an integration. So integrated market is a visible market. It's a transparent market. It's a market which is reasonably well regulated. It's a market which has got reasonable standards. You have one of the best standards which SEBI has prescribed for your for the integrated financial market, or for the capital market, which we have in India. We have one of the best regulations also talking about what kind of standards are put by RBI for the banking sector. So it is well regulated, it is well standardized, and it is transparent and visible to all. And everybody is trading on the same ground. So what happens? The differentials are very less. And when the differentials are very less, the chances of having better access and better inroads generally turn to be high. And obviously, we need to have that kind of a utility-based use of funds from this market when it comes to an integrated market. So this is yet another area where and if you look at, not that there is absolutely no insider trading or absolutely no issues, but then even when we had the subprime crisis, or even when we had all kinds of global challenges facing the globe, we didn't see that much of stoppages or breakups in the Indian capital market. So we still saw that our regulations were reasonably sound, and the levels of integration which we could manage were going on well. Another one or two indicators on which I think there is a need to look at how integration stands out and what are basically the limitations which go into it. I'll just put those to a couple of things. One is that even when we are saying that we are integrated, even when we are saying that the segments are getting broken and the opportunities are there, there are certain factors which are actually teaching us lessons from perhaps global crisis which has happened. If you look at what has happened in the subprime crisis, it was all about housing loans, and it happened because there was always there is always something called a subprime along with the prime existing in the same market, which we did not have to the same extent to which it was present in US. What do you actually mean by prime? Is that a standardized, visible, transparent form of lending with what we call the prime rates. That means if I am in need of money for some purpose, maybe for a project, here in the case of subprime crisis, it was with housing. So if I'm in need of housing, I'll go to I will go to an Indian banker and I will ask for a loan for a particular purpose. They will say these are the lending rates. That's what we call the prime lending rate, subsequently moving into the base rate and base rate plus and things like that. So there is a normal saying that this is the standard, this is the rate at which you want. So if you comply with those standards, you will get it at that rate. But there is no differentials in rate, unlike what we have in a subprime. In the subprime, what happens? I need a loan. They're saying these are the conditions. This is the security. This is the what you call loan to asset value that you can get, and you have to give your land as security or whatever be the standardized conditions. So there, the person says that I cannot meet your conditions. I don't have that salary income. I don't have that job backing or security backing or that credit rating or the what do you call credit ranking that you're talking about. I don't qualify. So I'm subprime. That means I don't qualify under the prime conditions to get credit from an institution in the financial market. And this when it comes to the US subprime, it was referring to the market for housing finance. So then what is happening? I'm subprime. I don't have a job, I don't have adequate income, or I don't have the collateral, or I don't have the rating. So the extent to which you become subprime, the same system, your financial system, is telling you that there is a subprime market here, which is something like your private money lending or things like that. And the extent to which you go subprime, the rate of interest charge will be high. So you have housing loans issued at maybe 8%, and then again to some people it is 10%, for some people it is 14%, 15%, etc., as long as you go subprime. So this created a big risk. Institutions went on to it, and we saw what happened. It was subsequently mortgaged. There was a securitization which took place. Mortgage-backed securities came up, and it was said that all these housing loans are backed by huge instruments which can be traded. It has got high rate of return, but its credit rating went back, and we saw what happened, and the whole crisis took place. Now, in an integrated capital market, this is where I'm talking about the contemporary research issue. What happens is that even when you do good business, when your segment is sound, it has a spillover impact on the other segments. We saw that happening. This subprime crisis took place in America, but then FIIs withdrew money from capital markets across the globe. And we saw indices falling. We saw the NSE and BSE falling, the indices coming down, and we saw a huge crisis coming up there, even with institutions which did not have subprime. A similar kind of situation. I'm just referring to integration and what happens in terms of spillover impact across financial markets and across institutions within one particular financial market. Now, there, what I'm trying to talk. Another example is when we are looking at banking institutions and non-banking financial institutions. Suddenly, we saw at one point of time RBI intervening and saying that okay, NBFIs cannot carry out their gold loans or lending on the backing of gold in a form in which they were doing it. At a point of time, they were giving up to 95% of the value of gold and releasing it within 2 minutes, 2-minute release gold loans and so on. The risk is that very high. It is not just to the NBFIs, because the funds for the NBFIs were coming from the banking segment. So suppose there was some issue in terms of falling prices of gold. We did not encounter that kind of a risk. Before that, we saw interventions coming up. And there is a crash in the NBFI funds that will not just stand with NBFIs. It will move into the banking segment, and the banking segment will have its impact on the insurance segment. It will have its impact on the mutual fund segment. So an emerging area of research is how an integrated market, as we said earlier, in terms of business ideas, in terms of business environment, in terms of dealing with limitations of space and time, how it has got opportunities. The reverse aspect is how it has a spillover impact moving on to all the sectors. And to cater to that, we are talking about regulations. we are also thinking in terms of how we can perhaps have umbrella regulations to deal with this on a broader framework, because we are not even quite sure whether something that we talk about in terms of an integrated financial market regulation is something which has got its end in maybe insurance alone and has to be dealt by IRDA, or mutual fund alone, or capital market and has to be dealt by SEBI, or as part of banking and has to be dealt by RBI. Now we are seeing lots of instruments in the financial market where we are saying this has got partly something to do with insurance, partly something to do with mutual funds, partly something to do with the capital market. And so we are saying we need a broader kind of regulation. If you look at the whole financial system that is supported by NBFIs, you see multiple regulators there. Some of it comes under the cooperative sector, some of it comes under microfinance institutions, some of it comes under housing, the National Housing Bank, some of it comes under developmental finance institutions. So some of it comes under RBI. So you have multiple regulators dealing, and this multiple regulators not being able to look over or not being able to take over the spillover impact which happens in the financial market is yet another area where we have to look at integration that is taking place in a financial market. So how this integration is going to have its spread over there. Similarly, in terms of how you give the different options to bring out products and services which are innovative. Like you're saying you're investing in a fund, you're investing in the spot or in the derivative segment. Again, you're investing in a fund of funds, you're investing in a commodity, or you're investing in an exchange traded fund. So you have multiple options for investment, and these segments have got forces which are governing them in terms of both institutional finance and individual finance. And again, there it is split in terms of your foreign institution and Indian institution, and also the class of individual investors who are high net worth and who have who are retail investors. So these multiplicity of players acting in the what you call in an integrated financial market is something which is to be researched upon in how much of impact they can, how much of influence they can impose on the end product or services which are being offered. Basically, say for instance, you have lots of FIIs coming day one, day two with huge funds, and suddenly you see a big movement up. Or day one, day two, or hour one, hour two, they withdraw and the whole thing collapsing. So how much of this can be neutralized by domestic institutions or by retail investors or high net investors, and how this actually operates? And again, in an integrated financial market, something which becomes very, very crucial is what is the extent of inclusion that you have over there. Financial inclusion in its what you call, as we look at the terminology as seen by RBI, it can perhaps mean what we call just having a bank account or just taking a loan from a bank. But we need to look at the penetration into the different segments, including the derivative segment, or the bond market, or the market for government securities, gilded securities. So these kind of what you call penetration is very, very important if you want to take advantage of what you call a highly developed, a highly technology-driven market that we are actually looking into. Finally, I would like to just conclude by what we actually talk in terms of the kind of sustainability that we need for a macro system to exist, and if that sustainability has to be there, how actually we have to look at the sustainable financial standards which have been formulated by both the global regulators as well as the regulators in each particular nation. The sustainability basically refers to, we have had a lot of sessions on sustainable finance. Even in sustainable finance, when you're talking about an integrated market, as I said, when I'm looking at the NBFIs alone, I cannot allow this segment alone to collapse and say, okay, this is the end of NBFI. Or I cannot allow this mutual funds alone to collapse and say, okay, that is going to happen only with mutual funds. Or I cannot allow even the insurance segment to say, okay, this is happening only with life insurance or with general insurance or with the insurance sector. Because these are all very closely blended or very closely integrated, closely associated, and a jerk that you have in one part is definitely going to impact the entire lot. Even what is happening with perhaps one bank or one institution will have its huge impact on the market. So we have to see that the entire financial system, the entire market does not have a jolt, does not have strong, what you call shocks, which perhaps the levels of risk at which you can accommodate will not permit its accommodation. So the whole issue of sustainability comes. Now, what is actually sustainability? In very simple terms, sustainability talks about the linkages between systems. Leave alone a financial market and financial system for the time being. Let it be any system. Any system that is in place has a connection with some other system. Even if you look at education, we have a very strong association with perhaps health, perhaps school level education, perhaps industry, perhaps employment. These are all separate systems. But if the school education system becomes weak, that has its impact on higher education. And if the industry offtake for employment and entrepreneurship goes weak, it has its impact on higher education. Or if higher education goes weak, it has its impact on entrepreneurship, employment. So it is very, very strongly interconnected. Now, being in an integrated market, being perhaps even in a virtually integrated financial system, sustainability actually talks about how these services are mutually connected, understanding that in its, what you call, strongest form. What is a productive investment? How do you go into productive investment? What is a parallel system, and how does that parallel system be exploitative at times? What happens when you have a lot of people excluded from a market? Inclusivity is very important. How do you have the good numbers? How do you balance between investment and speculation? Just think of a financial system which is excessively driven by speculation, or even vice versa, excessively driven by mere investment. There is no speculation. So we need a wise investment. We need a wise and judicious kind of strategies in your speculation. We need wise and judicious kind of strategies in your hedging. That kind of a sustainability. That means you should not allow the market segments to exploit one another at the cost. That was what happened in your subprime crisis. That was what happened in Southeast Asian crisis. The rupee convertibility issue or the foreign currency convertibility issue. At the cost of one segment, you try to. That means we just wanted to see that retail finance goes out. The whole reason is, if you analyze the reason, you'll understand the demand for industrial finance when it came down significantly, bankers found no other way to park their fund. So they took on to retail finance in a big way. And they thought somehow let us park funds or push funds. And they said the best route was housing finance. So they didn't look at what is going to happen in terms of what you're securitizing, what you're giving as mortgage bonds, and how this repayment is going to come up. And if the repayment fails, what is going to happen with the bond which is backed? What is going to happen to the merchant bankers? So that sequence was not looked into. So sustainable finance talks about, if you are borrowing, think in terms of what are you going to do with the borrowing. If you are lending, think in terms of how this lending is going to be viable. If you are trying to reuse it in some form, how you have to. That is why we are giving so much of importance to even green energy, because the kind of projects, even if it has got a negative impact on health, negative impact on environment, if it is doing injustice in terms of human rights, if it is exploitative in its nature of natural, it is not likely to be functional, or it is not likely to be in existence in the long run. So that finance is not sustainable. So sustainability essentially talks about, or the test of sustainability lies in the fact that what you give as output from one system must immediately catch up into the input of another system, and this movement must be swift and continuous. There must be no break in that. The way you are, if you are taking money, it is meant for some purpose. If you are giving money, that money should be used for some purpose. That money should repay in some purpose. It should be able to repay the stakeholders. You should be able to give dividend in the right form. You should be able to pay interest in the right form. So the blending associated activities must be kept in place. You cannot have, you cannot just say that, okay, I'm not bothered about this. I'm only bothered about getting lots of deposits. Then where do you park the funds? Or I'm only bothered about loans. Forget about what that man is doing with that loan. So sustainability in a financial integrate, because it is not just a collapse of a segment that is important. It is collapse of an entire system which is going to be important. So, and all these areas, how this linkage takes place, even between segments in the financial market, or between players, or between investors, or between class of investors, these are all research issues. If you, interestingly, you find that, that is very much possible when our understanding of how this integration is taking place is clear. When you comprehend that in its best form, it becomes more clear to us. So I'll just sum up by these factors what I was trying to say. I started off with a simple kind of a remark that we don't have the same old traditional segments in the capital market or in the financial market that existed long back, where we are saying short-term funds, banks, long-term funds, this player, for this funds go to that institution, for this segment go to this segment. We have a technology driven integrated system. It has an advantage in the sense that if you are well organized, if you are meeting standards that make you accessible and visible to source funds, you are best suited to get money from that market. It subjects you to certain good regulations, which are talking about standards in your accounting, standards in your operations, standards in your logistics, which you comply. It gives you adequate scope for having a depository of ideas, because depository of ideas is, and depository of rather feasible ideas is more important than just saying from where am I going to get money. You push up your creative idea and you will see that there are institutions like venture financing or angel financing or even crowd financing, which is going to perhaps finance you. But we have to invest in getting creative ventures, creative ideas, creative enterprises, and then such an investment in creativity is important for the market. And we saw the importance of what you call scanning the environment and trying to see how whatever changes happens in the external or your macro environment, be it technology, be it legal environment, be it fiscal policy, be it your monetary policy, or be it all those factors, how it will impact the organization. The challenges, which again is an area for research, essentially came out from the fact that this kind of integration has got its own benefits in terms of breaking open the limitations of time and space, making available anywhere, anytime finance for any type of operations at any scale of operations. It can come from institution bond, it can come from debt, it can come from equity, it can come from promoter stake or whatever. That options being ready with you, you have a numerous choice and you have of advantage. Reverse to this, what is essentially happening is the fact that the integrated market will have always a spillover if you do not. So a close very creation in which you actually are. I'm
Sorry, your voice is breaking.
something maybe we can do that.
Delegates, if you have any doubt, you can please unmute your mic and ask your resource person.
Please unmute your mic and ask questions if you have about the session integrated financial markets. Sure, I have a question. Actually, integrated financial markets are in practice because the country's tax rate is not uniform across the countries in the world. Different countries following different tax rates. So how it is possible? Because the tax rate is not uniform and the return aspect is not return perspective. It is not uniform across the countries in the world. So how it is possible for an integrated financial market in the world?
Okay, good. It's not only when we are saying integrated financial market, it talks about how you can source, use funds on a global scenario. Integration is in two forms. We were primarily discussing integration of segments. Like in India itself, how banking, how mutual funds, how insurance, how your capital market do get integrated. Like I'll just give an example. There was a time, I think this was way back, I don't remember whether it's in 2004-06, a time where one of our leading public sector undertakings, IPO, failed miserably in the capital market. And the last day for subscription was up. And being a public sector undertaking, we saw suddenly an instruction coming to one of the leading players in the life insurance segment, LIC, to take up the public offer. And the issue was subscribed. Now, if this issue fails, the risk is spilled over to the insurance sector, though the IPO was from an organization, the manufacturing sector. So I was referring to the kind of integration which is happening with banking, insurance, mutual fund, non-banking financial institutions, as well as banking financial institutions. This is in India. The second part, as Dr. Biju has rightly asked, how does this integration take place in a global market? Global market, there are certain issues in terms of having the same level of integration because, as he rightly pointed out, tax rates vary. Number one, it's not only tax rate that is varying, cost of capital varies. But then I look at the sustainability of my project because I might get funds from an alternate source abroad. Maybe if I go through something like a global depository receipts or issue of ADRs or things like that, I might perhaps get money from a foreign which will be at a lower cost, but maybe the tax rates in that country are different. So I'll have to face that. But I blend this or match this with what kind of opportunity I get by investing in a particular place. So maybe I'm taking money at a lower cost and at a higher tax rate, but the higher tax gets neutralized by lower cost in case one. There is one opportunity like that. Or my higher cost and higher tax can be justified because there is an opportunity which is going to give me a rate which is beyond or which is beyond these two or justifiable in terms of the high cost and high tax. So it is not that integration is going to bring cost of capital, risk perceptions and tax rates among nations to be the same, but it gives you an opportunity to access it. Whether you're going to access that is based on your comparisons in terms of cost, in terms of tax, in terms of risk, in terms of avenues into which you are really going to invest. So if there is an avenue, you have an opportunity to go there and you have an opportunity to move in that nation itself you have an opportunity to have, move from one segment to another segment, from maybe institutional finance to another segment. So that is the way we are talking about. So integration primarily segments within the country, and when it go to other countries, definitely there will be differentials, but the differentials will be adjusted in terms of how we are going to deploy funds. This is primarily the integration that we are talking about. But again, even when you are saying this integration is there, if you are moving to a global format, cross-border, if you are moving, you will be subjected to lots of issues which do not come within the home market. So an integrated market has to address that. For example, you want to raise money from the American market through ADRs. It is not possible if you are not complying with IFRS. It might be possible if you do not comply with what we call quarterly reporting standards. There are lots of other things which are aligned. That's why I said if suppose you are planning to have a green energy project in India. So if it does not receive global sustainability certificates, perhaps you might not be able to access money from a foreign market. So there are social, environmental, and other issues also in terms of complying with standards, which will be tightened up if you want to get money from a global market. So these are definitely there.
Sir, further, if India going towards integrated financial market, and the regulation, what is the regulation right now will be at, or we need more regulations or less regulations? The current budget speak about direct financial code, because we have to club the already 4 acts in the financial market. Means SEBI's Act and Financial Regulation Act. Everything has to be clubbed into one act, Direct Financial Code.
See, it is not more than regulations. What is important is we need to have regulations which will override the segments. Earlier, it was regulations which was segmented to one particular class of institutions or one particular class that they were doing exclusively relating to that. So that is why we are talking about the common financial code or the bankruptcy code, or the combining different acts and bringing them together. This is that kind of an integration is happening in all segments. We saw it happening in the segment of indirect taxes, where many segments came together. We saw it in the bankruptcy code. We are seeing it in many places also. We are now talking about an umbrella regulation for NBFIs and all. The thing is, when you become integrated, there is cross implication. That means the issue is how, even when you talk about how do you compute the NAV of a unit in the mutual fund, or how do you take take cognizance of something which happened in an exchange traded fund. You cannot say that everything relating to that is only under SEBI. Part of it moves into IRDA. So that is why we are thinking of integration. We not more regulations, but we need overriding composite, a kind of combined regulations which are overseeing all these institutional systems or segments under the financial market, basically keeping in view the sustainability of the financial system. So the end is we want the sustainability of the financial system, because we cannot allow one segment to have a big blow and its impact to spill over into the other segments. So that kind of a thing is very fast happening. It is happening in taxation, it is happening in corporate governance, it is happening in regulatory markets also, and we are thinking of more kind of umbrella legislations, bringing the sectoral or isolated acts to come under one segment.
So, any more questions by the participants? Please rise. The section is going to wind up.
If you have no more questions, shall we conclude?
Yeah, so we can conclude, sir. So thanks a lot for a wonderful lecture on integrated financial market, which was given by Professor Simon Thattil, Director of IQAC, University of Kerala. And even though it's not based on a slide presentation, but the lecture itself was great. It was a new topic which was introduced, and the participants can go forward with the research with this topic. So on behalf of the participants and the Department of Commerce, I extend my sincere thanks to sir. Thank you, sir, for the wonderful lecture.
Thank you. Thank you so much and wish you all the very best. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for such an insightful session. It was highly informative and interesting and has covered almost all areas on which we have to give our focus. The session was rich with new ideas and guidance regarding the integrated financial markets. Dr. Gabriel Simon Tuttle, who always wondered us with his amazing presentation skills, has once again took all of us through an interesting session. On behalf of Department of Commerce, University of Kerala, once again, I would like to thank Dr. Gabriel Simon Tuttle for taking out time from his busy schedule and enlightening us with the knowledge. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That's an end to today's session. We'll all meet you up for the final session tomorrow, exactly at 6 p.m. A feedback form will be sent to your email soon after the session. Please do fill it. Thank you.